The Dallas Cowboys, as you might have heard, claim to be tight on salary cap space. Oh, they can't spend money. That is a lie. Today on the Cowboys Report, I am going to break down how the Cowboys can actually make moves in free agency. And you might have seen the $100 million figure thrown around by me and others. It's true. Every word of it. It's actually very easy. So if you got friends and family who believe the Jones boys lie in their propaganda, send them this video. It is very simple, and I will do my best to treat it like an explain like I'm five approach, because the cap is tricky and math is hard and no one likes math, but I'll break it down for you in depth on today's show, so share this one for me on social media. Let's begin with the overview. Cowboys right now have around $15 million in salary cap space. Now, I'm going to emphasize the around. It's not necessarily locked in. The cap numbers are projections. I'm using OTC's 272.5. There's different rollover occasionally. Sometimes you get a different projection of the cap. OTC and Spotrac are different right now. So for easy math, we'll do rounded figures a lot today, and we'll do $15 million. You can get a plus or minus up to even 5 sometimes, but it's a nice, even, round figure. Now look, Cowboys need change. The Cowboy way of not spending money like other contenders choose to spend is a competitive disadvantage. It has to stop. And they are in position with what they did last offseason, what they did to clear the bad money off their books, so to speak, to spend right now. Do not let any person tell you, whether intentional or unintentional, that the Cowboys are tight on salary cap space. If they are tight when free agency begins, it is by their own design and by their own choosing. They have plenty of cap to spend. You can get to $100 million. You can get to that figure without cutting a single player. Now, they might not get there. They might not from their own self moves. But at minimum, this team should create a sizable amount of salary cap space. And frankly, it's not even that hard. It's 5 steps, 5 moves, only one of which actually requires cooperation from anybody outside of the Jones boys in the organization to get to $100 million. It is that simple. We'll break it down step by step, in depth, with plenty of explanations before we get to it. Do we trust the Cowboys to actually spend money? Because this is a very valid question. Confidence level in the Cowboys actually spending money. Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Go vote the pinned comment on today's show. The path to the old $100 million figure. Step number 1 is super easy. You restructure Dak Prescott. This is what's called a simple restructure. It doesn't require any agreement from the player or the agent. There's no extra void years that have to be added. It's already built into the contract. It is truly a flip switch, or a switch of a flip of a switch. It's just built in to do it this way. The Cowboys have a $90 million cap hit for Dak Prescott because they know going in they were going to do this. This was their plan the entire time, was to flip this switch. You bring that down to 53, it's still a lot. It actually would probably drop next year, by the way. You generate $37 million in savings like that by simply doing what the contract is designed to do. So you now have, with one move, about $52 million in salary cap space. Step number 2, super easy. You restructure the contract of CeeDee Lamb, especially if you have guys who are going to be on your team for multiple years. And when you see that big jump in year 2 of a contract, and then the contract goes back down and on average per year cap impact-wise, this is the plan. You can take CeeDee Lamb's cap hit from about $34.5 million to around $14 million. We'll round down a little bit here. You save about $20.5 million in salary cap space. Boom. Automatic. Simple restructure. That's it. Doesn't change the way you spend. It just changes your ability to spend. The new cap space, $72.5 million. Just like that. If you want to be remotely competitive, these are non-negotiable moves. You built the contracts this way. There's zero reason to not do it outside of you want to be cheap. These are simple restructures. These are easy. These are no-brainers. These don't require anything else other than just like, hey, a phone call. Hey, we just did this. Boom. That's it. It's a no-brainer. And you're already up to $72.5 million. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's playoff time. It's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks. You can get in on the college football playoff for Prize Picks as well. Here's what we got cooked up for the Ohio State-Texas game. Jeremiah Smith, less than Quinn Ewers passing yards. Sorry, boys. Travion Henderson, more than rushing yards as well. So download the Prize Picks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Now, step number 3 requires cooperation, which the player involved has said he wants to do, by the way. It's paying Micah Parsons. As backwards as it might sound, paying Micah Parsons whatever he wants actually frees up salary cap space for you. You can pay Micah Parsons as the highest paid defensive player, non-QB, whatever it is, in NFL history, and because he has a $21.32 million cap hit as part of his 5th-year option, you can bring down that cap hit, and you will save up to about $16 million on the salary cap. You did the exact same thing when you finally paid CeeDee Lamb, except you waited and did it in late August and didn't get the immediate salary cap benefits. Now, salary cap space rolls over, so you're benefiting a little bit from it now since you never spent it, but you can save a significant amount of money. Now, you got to pay Micah. You got to be willing to pay him early, which this team struggles with. But it brings you up to about $88.5 million in salary cap space. I have moved on from no players. I have locked in my big 3, so to speak, core, and I've got $88.5 million. These first 3 moves, obvious. A competent, smart organization would do all 3 of these before free agency. They would just do it, they'd get it done, and they'd be prepared to attack. So therefore, it is unlocked. The Cowboys do all 3. I feel pretty good they'll do the first 2. The Micah one, I just don't trust them. So, maybe it's not 88.5, maybe it's still 72.5. But again, this is the up to figure. And we're not done making moves yet. Now, if you want free Cowboys videos each and every single day, oftentimes multiple times per day, hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Now, step 4 is a cheating 2-parter. Not even really cheating. It's making decisions with your safeties. There are several ways you can free up salary cap space. You can cut a player if the money works out that way based on what's left. You could also restructure a player. There are 2 ways you can cut a player, pre-June 1st, post-June 1st. Impacts the money you save is increased. The money you pay out doesn't, because you pay a little bit more by pushing dead money off into the future. I'll explain that here in a little bit. Both safeties, I think, are uncertain for their futures. Malik Hooker was fine. Malik Hooker was more steady. There weren't a lot of high-end impact plays, a couple interceptions. There weren't a ton of, totally down moments of wow, that was terrible. Donovan Wilson was super streaky. He was great one game, bad the next. I think both guys are uncertain because of the way their contracts are set up. Let's begin with Malik Hooker. He has a $7.75 million cap hit. Now, you can do a simple restructure on this contract, and that just puts the rest of his base salary into 2026. You save a little bit of money in the process there, $2.12 million. You can cut him right now and save $3.75 million. You could make him what's called a post-June 1st cut, which saves you $5.75 million. That extra $2 million in savings, you're basically borrowing from next year because that's going to count on the dead money. But remember, $1 this year is far more valuable than $1 next year because the salary cap goes up every single season. There is also what I would argue is a very valid train of thought, and we'll spend more time on it with Trayvon Diggs in particular here. If you're going to keep a player on the roster, you might as well borrow from the future as much as possible. It's an interest-free loan when the value of a dollar right now is worth more. Now, the Cowboys haven't always done that, but it's an option. So Hooker could save you anywhere from 2.12 to 5.75. Donovan Wilson, bigger savings here. The pre-6-1 savings don't actually change relative to Malik Hooker and the post-June 1st savings. Restructure saves you $2.67 million, somewhere in that range. A post-June 1st cut would save you $7. Now, what is noteworthy for a post-June 1st cut, you don't get those savings until after June 1st because you're pushing dead money off into the future, a little bit of dead money. Also helps pay for your draft class as a potential example. Now, that's the safety steps, and it ties into decision number 5. What do you do with Terence Steele? This one is not quite cut and dry for me. Steele struggled relative to his 2022 play. I thought he was better down the stretch and a lot better than he was in 2023. I sometimes wonder if your offensive line coach is just bad with tackles. He's had pretty good guard success, not good tackle success. I also have to point out, you cut players, you got to find replacements. I don't know who your tackle replacement would be for Terence Steele. Here's the contract, $18.13 million cap hit in 2025. They restructured him last year. Remember, salary cap space rolls over. They didn't really spend it, so there's really no actual impact in relative to what you would be saving Steele versus now if you hadn't restructured. It's all the same. It just depends on when you count it on the books. Restructure savings, $9 million. Pre-6-1, just 4.63. Post-June 1st, $14 million. It's a lot of money. That pays for your draft class and your rollover next year. So what are you doing with Terence Steele? Type K for you keep him, D for you dump him. I think there are arguments both ways here. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. So to recap, you can do nothing with all three guys and save $0. You could do all restructures, save $13.85. You could do all pre-June 6 cuts and save $11.5 million. You can do a post-June 1st cut and save up to $24.75. Of note, you can designate 2 players as post-June 1st cuts. To recap the math here, that's $100 million in savings with 0 players cut if you want to go down that path. You do only pre-June 1st cuts, it's $102.3 million maxed out if you cut all of those guys. A lot of the savings might go to a safety or a tackle you sign in free agency, but still, that's your figure. Post-June 1st, your maxed out cap savings, $113.2 million. And that means you got holes at safety and tackle, but you have plenty of money to spend. Again, you do get 2 designations of post-June 1st cuts, so you can't cut all 3 of those guys. I would assume Hooker would probably be the one you don't post-June 1st if you go down that route because the savings are pretty negligible there. It's a lot of money. There's also the matter here of Trayvon Diggs' contract. Now, I've seen some bad information out there in terms of cutting him and saving money. You don't actually do anything. Trayvon Diggs' contract is guaranteed for injury and then becomes fully guaranteed in March. So he's getting it no matter what. The only real possible savings here that matter, outside of I think like $1 million post-June 1st, but at that point you're just paying to not have him there, is about $5.87 million if you restructure. And again, there is a very valid argument that if you're going to pay a guy to be on your roster, you might as well restructure. Because if you don't spend the money, you can roll it over into next year anyway, and it gives you more flexibility if you need it. Now, the savings look less the next year if you want to cut them. It's also a bad idea if you plan on trading a player. I don't think the Cowboys are going to trade Trayvon Diggs. He's coming off an injury. But that is a real and valid argument because, again, dollar now is worth a lot more than $1 tomorrow with the constant rising salary cap. So your updated max cap space is just over $119 million. It's massive money. It's not Patriots cap space money, but for a team that claims to be poor and can't spend money, that's a lie. Now, I do want to make some other notes here, by the way. Zach Martin stuff, Tank Lawrence, Brandon Cooks. those contracts are already set up to be a post-June 1st move or already being counted as voided contracts in the case of Tank Lawrence and Brandon Cooks. The Cowboys know there's a good chance Zach Martin retires. So when you go at sites like SpoTrack and Over the Cap, they aren't counting Zach Martin's money as dead money yet. They will, but it is reflected in the current salary cap space. I also believe that those sites are already factoring in last year's rollover money, so I did not double count that. And you'll see the Cowboys go, oh, we got to pay Tyler Smith and stuff. Okay. There's no real impact in 2025. You can keep the base salaries low still. It's not tangible impact. It's not. Don't let them fool you. Now, Deron Bland, maybe, if you want to go down that path, but he's coming off an injury. Cowboys going to pay him right now? I don't think so. You need to re-sign guys too. And a portion of your funds absolutely goes to that. But make no mistake about it. There's room to spend. There's a lot of room to spend money in a way this Cowboys team hasn't done because they aren't actually paying a lot of guys right now. Martin and Lawrence and Zeke, and Gallup and Cooper and all those contracts are off the books. The Eagles, of these other contenders, spend a lot more than the Cowboys do. Cowboys can do it as well. Now, if you want the Cowboys to spend, like I certainly do, type me in the comments section right now. We'll recap this one time in case you weren't paying attention. If you want the Cowboys to spend, do it right now. This is how the Dallas Cowboys can create $100 million or more in salary cap space. First off, they're at about $15 million in salary cap space right now. They can restructure Dak Prescott and save about $37 million. They can restructure CeeDee Lamb, save about $20.5 million. Paying Micah Parsons, yes, paying Micah Parsons can save them $16 million. They can cut their safeties and save between 9.1 and 12.75 in salary cap space. They can make a decision on Terence Steele and save anywhere from 4.63 to $14 million. They can restructure Trayvon Diggs and save about $5.8 million in salary cap space. And even at least just doing Dak and Lamb generates anywhere between $72.5 million in salary cap space. Or if they want to be just a little bit more aggressive for one time in recent memory, they can generate $119 million in salary cap space. And it's actually super easy. In fact, they can have $100 million with 0 players cut.